Hi, you guys. I hope you're having a great summer. As promised, I'm going to do a little video about how to do each part of the summer packet. I'm just going to do a little bit from each page all in one video so you don't have to click on a bunch of different ones. So you can just fast forward the parts that you already know how to do. So our first page here, it says paleontologists believe that the biggest dinosaur that ever lived measured about 120 feet or 36 meters from head to tail and was about 18 feet, 5.5 meters high. What is the name of this giant creature? So these are just like goofy little riddles, and your answers will help spell out your answer to the riddle here. So it's kind of goofy. So for these ones here, it says simplify each fraction and find its simplified form in the answer box. This simplified form is going to be important. That means when we write it in lowest terms. And then write the letter of each simplified fraction in the space above its problem number. So some letters will be used more than once. Some will not be used. So if you see, for example, here, the answer was 3/4. 3/4 corresponds with the letter S, so that means I'm going to look for the number 1. Any place I see a number 1, I'm going to write an S, and so that would be here. But things can be repeated too. So let's try this one. 6/16. I need to think of a number that goes into 6 and 16. I know that 2 goes into 6 and 16. So I'm going to do 6/16 divided by 2/2 as my giant 1. That looks kind of goofy, but that's okay. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So in lowest terms, it would be 3/8. Okay? And then, so I look over here, my answer box, and I see here 3/8 is for letter A. So I'm going to look for number 2. Okay, number 2, here's that. 8/20. I want to think of a number that goes into 8 and 20. I know that 4 goes into 8 and 20. So I am going to divide 8 by 20. Whoa, I'm going to divide 8 by 4, which is 2, and 20 by 4, which is 5. Here's 2/5. It's all the way down here. So that is going to be my answer. It is I, and then any place there's a 3, I'm going to put an I. Here we go. And then you just go on, so on and so forth throughout the whole thing. Okay? That's that one. You're just looking for a number that goes into both of them and dividing, top and bottom. And then filling in your answers up here. Next one is we are switching from improper fractions to mixed numbers. So, same exact thing. It has a silly little riddle up here. Your numbers and your answers match here. Not all letters are going to be used, so if you don't get every single one here, don't freak out. You're not supposed to get every single one. Just get as many as you can, and it'll spell out something weird. So we need to turn this into a mixed number, meaning we need to have a mixture of whole numbers and fractions. So we know it's an improper fraction because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. We're going to ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 27? And we can on the side, or if you need scratch paper, that's fine too. I'm going to do 27 divided by 5. 5 goes into 27 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. 27 minus 25 is 2. So I have a remainder of 2. So I have 5 goes into 27 5 whole times with 2 left over, and denominator stays the same. Okay? Do the same thing here. How many times does 7 go into 24? I know 7 times 3 is 21, so that's the closest. So it can fit in 3 whole times. 7 times 3 is 21, which means if I take 21 away from 24, I would have 3 left over, and that would be 3 and 7. Oh, I forgot to check my answers here. So 5 2/5. Here it is. So number 2 is going to be G. Here we go. And number 3 is 3 3/7. That's here as well. So number 3 is N. Okay? Let's do the next page. Cool. Same exact thing. Goofy question. You're spelling out your answers here, except this time, instead of your questions being numbered, they're lettered. So for example, my answer here was 3/5, so then I would look for 3/5 up here and put that letter there. Some will be used more than once, so you might see that, I have 1/2 here and 1/2 here, so the question that I get the answer of 1/2 to, I would just write it here and here. This is important. It says make sure your answers are simplified. So that means if you can divide to write it in lowest terms, you need to do that. So for example, you could get, actually, I'll find one and then we'll do it. So when you are adding or subtracting fractions, you must have the same denominator. This page is easy. All of the denominators are the same. So 2/7 plus 3/7, my denominator stays the same out of 7, and 2 plus 3 is 5. So 5/7 is R. See if 5/7 pops up anywhere else. No, we're good. Okay, let's skip to, we're gonna skip to, how about, sorry, I'm looking for one that needs to be simplified. Okay, let's look at I down here. It says 11/12 minus 5/12. So my denominator stays the same. It's going to be 12ths, and 11 minus 5 is 6. Now, if you look at your answers up here, you do not have 6/12 because this is not in simplest terms. I need to think to myself, what is a number that goes into 6 and 12? I know that 6 goes into 6 and 12, so I'm going to divide numerator and denominator by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So now I have this answer of 1/2. So any place I have 1/2 up here, I'm going to write an I. So I have a 1/2 here. I have a 1/2 here. So on and so forth. Okay? Next page. Now, same thing, silly little riddle. You need to write simplified answers, so in simplest form. Some letters will be used more than once, some will not be used at all, so same set of rules here. But the only thing that's different about this page is you're still adding and subtracting fractions, but you'll notice that the the denominators are different. And the rule for adding and subtracting fractions is the denominator must be the same. So if you look at this example here, you'll see 2/5 plus 1/3. 5 and 3 are obviously not the same number. We need that bottom number, the denominator, to be the same. So we found a common multiple of 5 and 3, which is 15. So I did 2/5 times 3 over 3 and 1/3 times 5 over 5 to make both fractions be out of 15. So I'm going to do this one, 8 and 4. Is there a multiple? What is the least common multiple of 8 and 4? Well, I can actually make this 4 be out of 8 as well. So I'm going to do times 2 over 2, and that's going to give me 6/8. And I don't have to change this at all because that's already out of 8, so I'm going to do 5/8 and add these guys together. 5 plus 6 is 11. Denominator stays the same, 11 over 8. Now, this is an improper fraction, and it says our answers must be simplified. So we need to write this as a mixed number. 8 goes into 11 one whole time, and there are 3 left over. So my final answer is 1 3/8. I'm going to look for my answer up here at the top. 1 3/8 is here. Some of them might be used more than once. This one only appears one time. Let's look at G, 4 and 3. We need to think of the least common multiple of 4 and 3. I know 4 and 3 can both be used to create 12, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to multiply times 3 over 3 here, and I'm going to do times 4 over 4 here. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 4 is 12. So now my denominators are the same, so I can add. 9 plus 4 is 13. Denominator stays the same. Once again, we have an improper fraction, so we need to convert it. 12 goes into 13 one time, and I have 1 left over, so I'm looking at 1 and 1/12. Look up at your answers here. There it is, so it's going to be G. Okay, for the next page, it's subtraction, but the denominators are different as well. So we need to do the exact same thing that we just did. We need to see least common multiple of 8 and 16. In this case, it's going to be 16. So I'm going to do times 2 over 2, 10 over 16. So I'm going to do 10 over 16 minus 3 over 16. 10 minus 3 is 7. And denominator stays the same as 16. And then that is my final answer. So you, once again, look up here, 7/16 is E. Let's do this one over here, 11/12 minus 3/8. So we need to think of a number that can be created using 12 and 8. I can think of the number 24 can be 24 I can make out of 12 and I can make it out of 8. So I need to multiply in order to make this be out of 24 for both of them. So I know 12 times 2, so I need a giant one of 2 over 2. And 8 times 3, so I'm going to use a giant one of 3 over 3. 11 times 2 is 22. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I can do the math here. 22 over 24, sorry, that's a little messy, minus 9 over 24. 22 minus 9 gives me 13 over 24. Okay, look for your answer up here. There it is. And fill in the answer. Next page, we are almost done. Only 2 more, and these next 2 are going to be so easy for you, you don't even need me for this. Okay? Multiplying fractions, so exact same thing. Question, answer, simplest form. Some are used more than one time, some are not used at all, so don't freak out if you don't see your answer up top. Multiplying fractions, we just go straight across. 3 times 5, 15. 5 times 9, 45. Now, we need to ask ourselves if that is simplified. I know that it is not simplified because there is a number that goes into 15 and 45. There's actually a couple numbers. 5 goes in there, 3 goes in there, but I want the biggest one. And the biggest number that goes into 15 and 45 is 15. So I'm going to do 15 divided by 15, 45 divided by 15, and that's going to give me 1/3. So 1/3 is my final answer. And I'm going to look at the top. There it is. 1/3 is N. There's a little hint here for you. If you have a whole number, you need to write it over 1, but you already know that. And then 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. Now, we have an improper fraction here, so we need to fix it. Ask ourselves, how many times does 4 go into 8? It goes in a perfect 2 times, so I just need 2. There you go. Last page, same thing. Riddle, answer, simplified answer. Some will be used more than once, some will not be used. Multiply by the reciprocal, or like we like to say, keep, change, flip. So please rewrite it out here. Don't try to do it in your head. So I'm going to rewrite it. 5/9 divided by 2/3 becomes 5/9 times 3 over 2. Okay? Then I just multiply straight across like we just practiced on the last page. 5 times 3 is 15. 9 times 2 is 18. We need to simplify this. Is there a number that goes into 15 and 18? 3 does. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So my most final answer is 5/6. And there it is. We'll do one more. This needs to be written as 3 over 1, so I'm going to do 6/7 divided by 3 over 1. Then I need to keep change flip 6/7 times